Okay, what you saying, people, and welcome back to another video. Now today we have another weekly forex analysis, but before we get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also leave a like, and also join my Telegram channel whilst you're at it, because I'll be posting a lot of different trading setups throughout the week and you don't want to be missing out on that. But like I said, today we've got the weekly forex analysis. Now let me stop talking and let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to start with Euro USD. Okay, so for Euro USD on the daily chart, you still see that we've got that bullish trend in the market. Prices making those higher highs and those higher lows. But currently we found some resistance around here. That price is failing to break. If I just draw my level in, see price is failing to break this level here. We had a false breakout during the week there and we had that break back in. So giving us that false breakout, but price is struggling to break these two levels here. We're just effectively ranging between these two levels, so we need price to either break out to the upside and carry on that upwards trend, or break out to the downside and give us a nice swing to the downside. But from a higher time frame point of view, we could be seeing Euro USD continue on a little bit further in that bullish trend. As you can see, the monthly, we've had that strong push to the upside, so you could be seeing a new trend to the upside now, and especially since we've got a break of that monthly trend line as well. So you could be seeing Euro USD continue move to the upside. And from a weekly point of view, you can still see that we're very bullish as well. But of course, we found some resistance around here in the market. We had that wick to the upside where price was trying to break it. Of course, we got that wick and price is closed below. So from a weekly point of view, we could be seeing a move to the downside as price starts to retrace before we can expect that overall trend on the monthly chart to continue to the upside. We're definitely expecting a move to the downside for Euro USD as people start to take their profits from this long bullish move to the upside. So from a daily point of view, again, we're just waiting for to see if price will break the level to the upside or to the downside, but we're favouring a move to the downside just for now for Euro USD. Next, we're going to take a look at USD JPY. Okay, so for USD JPY on the daily chart, you can still see that we're kind of stuck between these levels here with USD JPY. We had the move to the upside, a very strong move to the upside a week ago from this weekly level here. And if I drop to the weekly chart, you can still see that level quite nicely. So you can see that we've had very big pushes from this level in the past. So we're expecting price to go push from this level and carry on that journey to the upside and potentially go test this trend line. And if I go to the monthly, you can see that this trend line has been respected for quite some time, and we could be due a move to go and test that trend line again, as we just have a test of this lower support level here. So from that support level, you can be expecting a longer move to the upside and go and test that trend line up there. And if I drop to the weekly chart, you see that this week we found some support around here. We had a wick to the downside as price tried to break lower, but again failed to, gave us that wick. So you could be seeing next week go have a move to the upside and go retest this level here where we found resistance last week. So from a daily chart point of view, we could be seeing a move to the upside. We've definitely found some support in this area in the market here. Let's zoom in. So we found some support in this area in the market here. So you could be seeing another move to the upside as price goes retest this area. Then if we get a break, you could be seeing price move higher. So that's what we're expecting for USD JPY. Again, for entries, you can look for the low time frames as price has a push to the upside, possibly either go retest this area or has a pullback, and you can be looking to go long or wait to see if price will break there and you can go long from the market there. Now we're going to check out USD CAD. Okay, so for USD CAD on the daily chart, you see that we're in a bearish market here. Price is definitely making those lower highs and those lower lows and making those moves to the downside. But we've come up to this area in the market here. And if I go to the weekly, you can see that we've come up to this area market where we've made contact with this trend line here and also the 200 moving average on the weekly chart. So again, we're at a significant place where price could potentially finding strength from the bulls, and we have a push to the upside. We have a test of the trend line here, a second test of the trend line here. So we're having a third test. So we could be seeing it move to the upside from that. And again, we've got the confluence of the 200 moving average again, so we expect a reaction from that but if price does break through there, we could be seeing a move to this level down here, where price has had that massive move to the upside from this level. So this could be a very likely place where price could be coming from a weekly point of view if we do get a break of that trend line and that 200 moving average. But for now, we are expecting that move to the upside, especially from this area here, from a weekly point of view, and also from a daily as well. And you can see in the daily that we're running out of steam to the downside. A bit more bull candles are creeping into the market, so we could be looking for a reversal for USD CAD in the upcoming days and the upcoming weeks, and a move to the upside. Again, you can capitalize on that with some price action on the daily and the 4-hour time frames, or when price has its pullback, and you can be looking for buys there. But again, if you do get a nice break of that trend line and the 200 moving average on the weekly chart, you could just be scaling down to your lower time frames and then possibly take advantage of that and look for sales to the downside until this area at least. But we could be seeing reaction from there. But again, bias is still to the upside, and you can be looking for buys in the market for USD CAD on the lower time frames. Okay, so let's take a look at Euro GBP. Okay, so for Euro GBP on the daily chart, again, like last week, we are still moving sideways between these two levels here. So we're expecting either price to break out to the upside or to the downside for this chart. Again, we're coming up to this the lower level of that pattern, of that ranging pattern. So you could be seeing another move to the upside to go and retest this level up here, where we've had those rejections and all those wicks to the upside on the daily chart. From a weekly point of view, we're coming up to this area in the market here. We've got a few wicks to the downside, so we could be seeing again another move to the upside to go and retest that area in the market. And you can just see that we're kind of still ranging between these levels here. So from a long-term point of view, we're ranging between these two levels. There's no real direction in this market from a higher time frame point of view. So it could be a case we're coming up to go and retest this area in the market again before getting that move to the downside. Or we could still be getting the move to the downside from where we are at. But currently with price action on the weekly and daily, it looks like we could be getting another move to the upside to go retest these highs. But again, we're still moving sideways. So we're just waiting to see if price will either break out to the upside or to the downside, where we could be looking for shorts, or again, if we break to the upside, looking for longs. Bang, bang. Okay, so let's move on to NZD CAD. Okay, so with NZD CAD on the daily chart, you can see that we had that reversal to the downside. Price was making those higher highs here, and now we're making those lower highs, and we've got a downward trending market. We've come up to this area in the market on the daily time frame with the 200 moving average. So we could be seeing a reaction on the NZD CAD on the daily chart to the upside there as price goes maybe pullback before we're expecting a continuation to the downside. Because if you take a look on the weekly there, you had the confluence of the 200 moving average and of course the weekly trend line, and we could be having a continuation to the downside. If I zoom out, you still see that we're in a downward trend on the higher time frame, so expecting this to continue as long as we stay in that downwards trend, and we could be seeing price go and reach areas down there in the market. But for now on the daily chart, we'll come up to an area of value in the market. We've got that wick around here, and we've got these wicks around there with the 200 moving average. So we could be seeing a move to the upside to go find some resistance before we're seeing another move back down. We do have this wick here that went all the way up to there and got rejected, so we could be seeing another move back there before we can get continuation to the downside. But we are expecting a reaction at this 200 moving average. We do have that wick to the downside and that doji on Friday, so again we could be seeing price have a nice little pullback there, and we can be looking for more entries for shorts to the downside. But again, my bias is still for NZD CAD overall trend to be to the downside, so I won't exactly be looking for any longs to hold on for a long time. I could be looking for longs on the lower charts, but from a long-term point of view, from a daily and a weekly point of view, we are expecting this market to continue to the downside. And you can see with the candles on the weekly chart, we are still very bearish on that chart, so we are expecting that to continue. But again, we could be seeing reaction from this area in the market here, where we can see we have all those wicks around there, so you could be seeing a reaction to the upside before we continue back down. So for the daily chart, we're still expecting a move to the downside, but we could be having a move to the upside before we have that, where we can be looking for short entries to capitalize on that pullback and continue this trend to the downside. Okay, so up next we're going to take a look at AUD USD. Okay, so for AUD USD on the daily chart, you can see that we do have that uptrend in the market, but we are definitely running out of steam with that uptrend, and we're looking at going to have a potential reversal and a move to the downside and possibly have a new trend. So if I go to the monthly chart, you can see that we do have this trend line here. We have one touch there, second touch there, third, and now we're having our fourth. And each time we have a test of the trend line, we get a move to the downside, move to the downside, move to the downside from a monthly perspective. So we could be seeing this month have a bearish candle and a move to the downside and potentially continue on that downwards trend. And if we go to the weekly chart, you can see that we're having all these wicks now around this area now. So it could be looking like we're having a move to the downside as bears starting to reject the bulls. We can see that we're having those wicks, and we had a test of the 200 moving average this week, and obviously we've had a test of the trend line as well. So we do have some confidence in that area in the market. So we could be seeing next week or the week after, but we could be seeing a move to the downside from this area here in the market and capitalize on shorts in the market from the lower time frames. So going on the daily, you can see that we found some resistance in the market around here. We found some resistance around here. You can see that price just keeps coming to test this area in the market. So we've had 3 tests now, and price is failing to break it. So you could be seeing price continue to the downside from there. So it could be a case where price possibly goes retest it again next week, and we could be looking for shorts again, or to see if price continues on that downwards trend that it's starting, and we look for pullbacks. Price goes to find resistance, and you can look for short entries there for a move to the downside. But our bias is definitely for AUD USD to have a longer move to the downside now on the high time frame for the daily and the weekly charts. So again, for entries, looking for either a retest of this area or for price to continue and have some pullbacks for us to get into. Okay, so let's move on to GBP NZD. Okay, so for GBP NZD on the daily chart, you see that we're in a bullish market. We had the reversal from this double bottom and the test of the weekly trend line, and we had a push to the upside. But on the weekly, we have found some resistance in the market, and if I draw my level in here, you can see that we've had this level act as support here, support here, support here, and now we've come up and it's going to be acting as resistance after we've had that break, and now price is at the same level. So you could be seeing a move back to the downside from this level here as price gains more bears in the market, but we could be also be looking for price having that impulsive move to the upside, looking for a pullback and continue in that bullish market. We obviously don't know whether this can be a complete reversal back to the downside or just a pullback for a move to the upside. But again, we are expecting price to go find some resistance around here. We do have that doji on the weekly, so indecision, bulls or bears have neither one. But because we're at resistance, we are favouring a move to the downside from a weekly point of view, and definitely from a daily point of view. As you can see, we had that bullish candle on Thursday, breaking through this area in the market, and then the next candle on Friday just came back in and gave us a false breakout there. So normally from a false breakout, you expect price to move to the opposite side. So you could be seeing a move to the downside there. And again, from a lower time point of view, you just be looking for price to have those pullbacks for us and go find some resistance for us to short the market. But from a higher point of view, from a daily point of view, we're expecting a move to the downside here. Obviously, we don't know how far, but we're expecting a move to the downside from a daily point of view. Okay, so we're going to move on to CAD JPY now. Okay, so for CAD JPY on the daily chart, we had price ranging between these two levels here, and price will start between these two levels for quite some time. So we're expecting either price to break to the upside or to the downside. We're favouring price to break to the upside, and as you can see, we had that price break to the upside, and now it looks like we're coming back to retest that market. And also we've got the confluence of the 200 moving average on the daily chart as well. So it looks like we'll come back to retest the area as well as retest that 200 moving average. And we're expecting to see CAD JPY continue to the upside, where we could go at least test the area up here where we had price act as resistance, where we had the level act as resistance, and price got rejected from, and had that move to the downside. So we could be seeing price go up and test that area in the market, or go and test up that weekly trend line. If I go to the weekly, you can see the trend line I'm talking about. We've had 1, 2, 3. So we could be looking for our 4th test of the trend line before we either see a break or price respect it and have another move to the downside to carry on that weekly trend to the downside. But you can still see that on the weekly we are looking very bullish. We had a breakout of all these wicks with that candle last week, so we're expecting that to continue. We found some support here on the daily chart as well with the 200 moving average, so expecting that to continue to the upside and go find this level at least. But if we do get a break of that support area, which was former resistance here, and that 200 moving average, we could see price either fall back into that pattern and continue to the downside. But we are favouring that move to the upside, where we could be looking for buys around here, where it's at that support, and waiting for price to have that initial move first, and wait for pullbacks on the low time frames to capitalize on longs to the upside. And up next we have GBP USD. Okay, so with GBP USD on the daily chart, you can see that we had this swing to the upside on the daily chart, but we found some resistance around here, where we can see that price has come to test it a couple of times. And also we've had those candles where we had that bullish candle, bearish candle, bullish candle, bearish candle. So quite a lot of indecision around there, and you can clearly see we found some resistance in the market there. And if I go to the weekly chart, you can see that we've had a test of the weekly trend line again, and we've had that wick to the upside on the weekly time frame. Had that candle with that long wick to the upside as price was trying to break through this trend line, but by the end of the week it couldn't maintain itself and rejected and closed below our trend line there. So it could be seeing a move to the downside to carry on that downwards trend on the weekly time frame. If I zoom out, you can see that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, and currently having our 5th test of that trend line. And every time we have the test of that trend line, we get moved to the downside, test, move to the downside, test, move to the downside, test, move to the downside, and we'll have another test. So we could be seeing another move to the downside to go retest the support level here on the monthly time frame before we get another move to the upside. So that's where we could be seeing GBP USD heading, since we are at that weekly trend line, and we do have that resistance on the daily time frame that we found here. And if I draw my level here, you can see that it's had to have resistance once here, again there, and again there. So we could be seeing a move to the downside from there, and a swing to the downside due to the trend on the weekly time frame. So that's where we're expecting price to continue. And if we look at the market here, we could be seeing either price go and retest that area before looking for that move to the downside, where you can be looking to get entries for short trades, or if price has that initial move to the downside at the start of the week, and again just looking for those pullbacks and expecting price to continue. But if we do get a move to the upside and break through this level and through that trend line, then we could be expecting price to continue to the upside and carry on that trend a bit further, and possibly have a bullish trend on the higher time frames like the monthly, since we are failing to break through this area here, and see price continue to the upside. But from a daily point of view and a weekly point of view, we're still expecting price to respect this level and have that move to the downside. And last but not least, GBP CAD. Okay, so for GBP CAD on the daily chart, you can see we just had this move to the downside, so we're looking like we'll get into a bearish market. We had a test of this weekly trend line here, and you can see that this weekly trend line has been respected for quite some time. So we're anticipating that price will be rejected from it again and have that move to the downside. So you can be seeing this daily trend line here get broken as price respects the weekly time frame and continue that move to the downside, and go and test the monthly time frame. If I go to the monthly, you can see that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 multiple tests of that trend line. So it could be going for another one before price eventually breaks out of these trend lines, either to the upside or to the downside. But of course we do not know yet. So from a daily point of view, we're expecting this to continue to the downside, but we are coming to this area in the market here, where we had a breakout of this area, and this has acted as resistance in the past. So again, we're expecting to have resistance as support now, since we've had a break of it. Then we also have the 200 moving average there as well. So you could be seeing another move to the upside to either go retest these highs before we get a move to the downside. But we're definitely expecting a reaction around here, and you could be looking for buys temporarily for GBP CAD as we capitalize on this area in the market here and have a move to the upside. Okay, so that's the end of the video, guys, and I hope you all enjoyed it. So if you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also leave a like. If you have any questions or if you agree or disagree, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. But till the next one, I'll see you later.